When you work with C sharp code, you undoubtedly have come across a while loop. And if you have a condition that never becomes false and your while loop is always true, you're just going to be stuck in a never ending loop. That situation can manifest itself in life in the form of getting stuck doing tutorials. When you get stuck in the tutorial loop, you're going to feel like you know nothing, and then the next day you're going to feel like you know everything. But then you're going to pull up the editor and you're going to be reminded of the fact that you don't know where to start, and then you feel like you know nothing. That is the sick loop of tutorials. Because on one hand, tutorials are necessary. You have to know the syntax and you have to know like the basic fundamentals of, let's say C sharp to advance, right? To do well in that technical interview. But the problem with tutorials is that you can easily lose sight of what you actually know, because some tutorials are good, some are bad. Some actually show you how to make stuff, and some show you just like string manipulation and those kind of things. And I feel like sometimes those tutorials focus too much on the specific semantics of that particular language, but then you lose the broader, like, you lose sight of the bigger picture. And that's making something and problem solving and thinking. And when you get stuck in tutorials, you're going to be super stressed out about remembering the syntax. And when you get super stressed out about just remembering syntax, it makes it very tough to think. And I know because I've learned, when I've failed many technical interviews, right? I got asked a question and I just completely froze because I was just so laser focused on like syntax and trying to make sure my code compiled or make sure that like what I was writing was actually valid code. And I completely ignored what truly mattered, and that was the problem solving aspect of the technical interview, and just articulating what I was thinking and how I was going about approaching the problem. And sometimes tutorials, when you're so deep into tutorials or algorithms or just doing all that stuff, you lose sight about the bigger picture of problem solving. And the inevitable thing that happens when you get stuck in that tutorial loop is that you begin to just memorize. And once you start just memorizing, you start to not really learn the same way. You're not learning by like truly understanding. You're just memorizing syntax at that point. And that's only going to get you to a certain point. But no matter how many tutorials you do, you're going to hit a wall where eventually it just does not matter how many more tutorials you do about C sharp. You have to move beyond these basic tutorials and you have to go make something. You have to go build something that pushes that pushes what you know to the limits, right? You have to go make an API, but you have to just try something. And that's also something that people get stuck on, is that they get stuck on not having an idea, right? I just have to, they always ask, I have to come up with an idea. I need to think about something, that's going to change the world, right? And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your project is, because that's not the point. The point is you making something. You just doing something. You can't get stuck not doing something. You have to just do something, right? Make whatever it is. Like, I made an iOS application following a tutorial that uh, saved a GPS coordinate so you could find your car again, right? I've made APIs just to get engine data, right, that you've seen on the channel. That stuff by itself doesn't really do anything, right? It doesn't do much, but it helps me learn and it helps me develop skills that I need to actually make stuff for a job. And that's the point, right? You're not making a personal project to make a living off of. You're making a personal project to like develop your skills so that you can pass the interview to get a job, right? That like is like the reason why you make these things. It doesn't matter about the idea, right? You're not gonna wake up and just say, huh, I have this $1 million idea and I'm just gonna code it tomorrow. It doesn't work like that, right? It's just, people want to say that you just have to, oh, just code your own startup, right? Okay, well, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. and nobody would be working full-time development jobs. But that's just not how reality works. Now, sure, some people just are exceptionally like just talented or gifted and they can actually do that. But I would say for the vast majority, myself included, I can't do that, right? I have not come across that idea for myself where I'm making just boatloads of money off of, right? Hasn't happened yet, but maybe it will. I don't know. But the other day is just write a list of like just all your ideas, right? It doesn't matter. Just say, okay, I got to make something. What is it going to be? Something has got to take me out of these tutorials and just honestly just give you an opportunity to test what in the world you actually know. And you're going to find out that you learn more by looking up problems that you run into and then looking for a solution and then implementing it and see it work. You're going to learn more doing that than just following along the tutorial that tells you exactly step by step how to do something. And that's just what I've seen to be true for myself. No, it's not to say I don't still follow along guides or tutorials. Of course, like if I need to learn like some out a very specific thing, I'll look at the documentation. And obviously I'll read .NET books and API development books and design books and design pattern books, architecture books. I read all that stuff. But then I take that and I do what you see here on YouTube, right? I try to incorporate it here, so I apply what I learn in software, right? I need to apply it at some point. Otherwise, I'm not going to retain what in the world I read, right? Because a lot of stuff is like pretty abstract sometimes. Like it's pretty obscure. And I feel like the more obscure something is, at least for me, like yeah, I got to do something with it. Otherwise, it's gonna leave my head. I mean, that's just me. It might be different for you, but I don't know. So, man, try your best to get out of tutorials if you can, and just go make something. Just whatever crazy idea, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you think the idea is right, wrong, like technically right, technically wrong. Just try it. Like I was thinking about the other day, like I made a video on expression trees. Maybe I could use expression trees to make some like, you know, scalable RabbitMQ consumer. I don't know. It probably doesn't even matter. Like, or that, dynamic scaler for RabbitMQ. Am I going to use it? Probably not. I just wanted to test and experiment with it. But what I was really getting at is I just wanted to test the functionality of being able to read the queue count and, perform some action. That's really what I was wanting to do. I just kind of grew into, maybe I can add consumers dynamically based on that number. So, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to learn. So I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, I just try to make something, I guess. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.